Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Vocational Education and Training, SOVET, Certificate, Advanced Certificate in Information Security, ACISE, OSE-043 Information Technology Security, Block-1 W3C Compliance, Unit-1, Introduction to W3C. 1.0 Introduction. Standards are very important for any technology for its success and acceptance by the users. After the invention of World Wide Web, it became necessary to make governing rules for World Wide Web. This necessity encouraged the web community to design and develop standards for the World Wide Web. Here in this unit we will more about such standards and their need. 1.1 Objectives. After studying this unit, you should be able to know about W3C. Know about W3C mission. Describe organizational structure, and list the advantages of W3C. 1.2 About W3C. The World Wide Web Consortium, W3C, is an international community created in October 1994 where member organizations, a full-time staff, and the public work together to develop web standards. The web inventor Tim Berners-Lee and CEO Jeffrey Jaffe lead the web to its full potential. W3C organized as a member organization and is working to standardize the web and to creates and maintains WWW standard. The standards of W3C are called W3C recommendations. The World Wide Web Consortium, W3C, was founded by Tim Berners-Lee in October 1994 at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Laboratory for Computer Science, MIT-ILCS, in collaboration with CERN, where the web originated with support from DARPA and the European Commission. INRIA, Institut National de Recherche en Informatique et Automatique, became the first European W3C host in April 1995, followed by Kyoto University of Japan, Shona Fujisawa campus, in Asia in 1996. Later in 2003 ERCIM, European Research Consortium in Informatics and Mathematics, took over the role of European W3C host from INRIA. Web and the Internet. The Internet is a global system of interconnected computer networks that allows interchanging data by packet switching using the standardized Internet Protocol Suite, TCP/IP. Thus, it is defined by the TCP/IP standards. The definition of web in W3C's architecture of the World Wide Web, Volume 1 is, the global identifiers called Uniform Resource Identifiers, URI, provides an information space in which the items of interest, referred to as resources, are get identified. The first three specifications for web technologies are URLs, HTTP, and HTML. 1.3 W3C Mission. The W3C's main concern is to lead the World Wide Web to its full potential by developing protocols and guidelines ensuring the long-term growth of the web. The important aspects of this mission are going to be discussed, all of which further W3C's vision of one web. Principles. The following principles guide W3C's work. Web for all. Web provides human communication, commerce, and various opportunities to share knowledge. And the prime goal of W3C is to make these benefits available to all people, irrespective of their hardware, software, network infrastructure, native language, culture, geographical location, or physical or mental ability. Web on everything. There is an immense growth in the number of different kinds of devices that can access the web. Web can be easily accessed in mobile phones, smartphones, personal digital assistants, interactive television systems, voice response systems, kiosks, and even certain domestic appliances. Vision. The vision involves participation, sharing knowledge, and thereby building trust on a global scale. Web for rich interaction. It is described as a communication tool that allows anyone at any place to share information. For many years, the web was a read-only tool for most of the people. Blogs and wikis and social networking have been emerged from the flourishing market for content and personalized web experiences. The strong architecture and design principles have supported W3C standards. Web of data and services. The web is considered as a giant repository of linked data for some while a giant set of services that exchange messages for others. Both of the two are complementary, and the use often depends on the application. Web of trust. The way of communication with each other gets changed with the web. The nature of our social relationships are also get modified. People now meet on the web and carry out commercial and personal relationships, in some cases without ever meeting in person. W3C recognizes that trust is a social phenomenon, but technology design develops trust and confidence. It will become even more important to support complex interactions among parties around the globe as more and more activities are moving online. 1.4 Organizational structure. In administrative terms, W3C is administered by a joint agreement among three host institutions, MIT, ERCIM, and Keio University. The W3C staff is led by a director and CEO. A small management team manages the allocation of resource and plans strategically on behalf of the staff. Regional offices play an important role in making W3C an international organization. In process terms, the W3C process document, member agreement, patent policy, and a few others documents establish the roles and responsibilities of the parties involved in the making of W3C standards. The advisory committee, composed of one representative from each W3C member, has a number of review roles in the W3C process, and they elect the advisory board and tag. Some key components of the organization are the advisory board, an advisory body elected by the advisory committee. The technical architecture group, tag, primarily seeks to document web architecture principles. The W3C director and CEO, who assess consensus for W3C-wide decisions. The chartered groups, populated by member representatives and invited experts, and which produce most of W3C's deliverables according to the steps of the 3C process. Revenue model. W3C sources of revenue include W3C member dues, research grants and other sources of private and public funding, individual donations of money and equipment through the W3C Supporters Program and the Validator Donation Program. International participation. Organizations from all over the world of many different fields join W3C to participate in a vendor-neutral forum for the creation of web standards. W3C members and the dedicated full-time staff of technical experts have earned W3C international recognition by their efforts for its contributions to the web. W3C's global efforts include liaisons, contacts, with national, regional and international organizations around the globe help W3C maintain a culture of global participation in the development of the World Wide Web. W3C also coordinates closely with other organizations that are developing standards for the web or internet to get clear progress. The Offices program, which promotes adoption of W3C recommendations among developers, application builders, and standards setters, and encourage inclusions of stakeholder organizations in the creation of future standards by joining W3C. The dedicated volunteers in the W3C community translate web standards and other materials. It also has a policy for authorized translations of W3C materials used for official purposes in languages other than English. Talks around the world in a variety of languages on web standards by people closely involved in the creation of the standards. This internationalization activity provided by W3C helps to ensure that the web is available to people. Process. Mostly the W3C work revolves around the standardization of web technologies. To get this work done, W3C has to follow the processes that promote the development of high-quality standards based on community consensus. The voice of stakeholders include in the development of W3C standards, having small and large members large, and also the public. W3C processes promote fairness, responsiveness, and progress of all aspects of the W3C mission. Patent policy. W3C adopted a patent policy to make continued innovation and widespread adoption of web standards developed by the World Wide Web Consortium in February 2004. The W3C patent policy is designed to help the development of W3C recommendations by W3C working groups, promote the widespread implementation of those recommendations on a royalty-free (RF) basis, address issues related to patents that arise during and after the development of a recommendation. 1.5 Advantages of W3C. Greater accessibility. A validated W3C website assured that your website will work in all browser and on all operating systems. Better search results. Google, MSN and Yahoo are the valuable search engines for the website visitors. To achieve a good position within search results, it is important that the code within the website is compliant with W3C standards. The use of proper standards is easier for search engines to analyze and index websites. Faster browser interaction. By providing information according to W3C standards, the browser receives pages that are familiar and hence does not have to interpret them. This makes your image to appear faster on the user's screen. Timely. According to website code, W3C can take up to 1 day for full validation and browser compatibility for a single page. Cost factor. There are associated costs with W3C validation exercises. 1.6 W3C compliance and its significance. W3C stands for World Wide Web Consortium and was founded in 1994 and are an international organization which helps in making the World Wide Web a better place by providing in detailed guidelines for the development of websites. You will be able to design a website that does not comply with W3C standards which can be viewed in the browser. But being able to be viewed in a browser does not make your website perfect. To make search engines to fully understand your website, it must meet with W3C standards. So the main significance of W3C compliance for C is to be seen in websites that are more search engine friendly. The C's ultimate aim is to make websites more search engine friendly. By making the website W3C compliant, makes the search engine friendly. Secondly, the website will be more accessible to the users. W3C compliance will also show that the website is compatible with all the popular browser. No browser compatibility issues will get raised. If the website cannot be viewed properly in one or more of the browser, then there is a threat of losing the segment of the visitors. Your website, in other words, becomes less accessible to the users. W3C compliant websites function perfectly well in all the browser. The functionality of the entire website will be perfect without any issues when the website gets launched. Moreover, it will meet high professional standards which are more important for the customers to get impressed. W3C guideline provides great help to web designers by serving as a standard against which the work is able to get measure. This helps them provide highly professional web design service. It is relatively easier to implement C for a website that is already W3C compliant. The website will have a strong foundation for C which can be used to build upon the future C efforts. W3C standards do not restrict your creativity and only enhances the creativity by helping to build the websites that will meet its purpose effectively. If the website has accessibility issues, then there is no use to spend a lot of money building such website. A website will be able to produce better results if it gets good exposure in the search engines and if everyone can access it without any problem. So it must be ensuring that only a professional web designs company is hired that uses W3C standards to design the website. 1.7 Importance of W3C. Till mid-80s, we either went to a bookstore or to a library for any information required. It was a time-consuming and also a very tedious process to be done. Today, with the facility of the World Wide Web and with the advancement of technology, information lies just a click away from us. It helps to keep ourselves in pace with the changing world and to be in tune with the latest happenings across the globe. In today's internet world, this has become easy and manageable with easy reach to numerous websites which updates information and news on daily and even on hourly basis. The software development services have gained popularity by creating website design services along with the other software development requirements. Numerous websites has overcrowded the web and make the web developers to think for newer and better methods which will make web surfing experience easier and faster. A typical website is coded in either JavaScript, HTML, or PHP script. The web designer must keep in mind while designing a website that the time to load a web page is crucial. It should not exceed more than 3 to 4 seconds. But if the site takes longer time to load, the visitor skips to the other website or may click on back button. Minimal use of flash design, easy navigation, and controlled use of colors and maximum readability is the main feature of website designing. Websites should have to be W3C compliant. The W3C compliance refers to the standards given by a standard committee to decide whether the markup language is correct or not. If the site is not W3C compliant, then the content displayed in one browser will not display the content correctly in other browser. If the website is W3C compliant, then any futuristic browser in universe will support the website. One of the best website designing examples is RSS, as it not only increases the exposure to the websites but also is an effective communication tool between publisher and surfer. RSS, known as really simple syndication, or is an effective way to syndicate content and greatly used in website design services. It is used to update latest editions in various information sources like news headlines, articles, blog entries, video, and even audio works in uniform format. It helps the readers to get real-time updates from their most visited websites. Its huge advantage is that a person can thoroughly control the flow of receiving information. If the reader dislikes the content quality of RSS feed, then he merely remove the feed from RSS reader to stop the individual updates from that source. And therefore the latest use of tools and technologies has made human life simpler and easier. 1.8 RECOMMENDATIONS of W3C. In accord with the W3C process document, a recommendation progresses through 5 maturity levels. Working draft. Last call. Working draft. Call for implementation. Call for review of a proposed recommendation. W3C recommendation, REC. By separately published errata, a recommendation may be updated until enough substantial edits accumulate, at which time a new edition of the recommendation may be produced, e.g., XML is now in its 5th edition. W3C also publishes various kinds of informative notes which are not intended to be treated as standards. W3C makes the manufacturers to follow the recommendations. Many of its standards define levels of conformance, which the developers must follow if they wish to label their product W3C compliant. W3C recommendations are also implemented partially sometimes. Anyone is able to implement the recommendations as they are under a royalty-free patent license. Unlike the ISOC and other international standards bodies, the W3C does not have a certification program. A certification program is a process which has benefits and drawbacks. The W3C has decided, for now, that it is not suitable to start such a program owing to the risk of creating more drawbacks for the community than benefits. 1.9 Administration of W3C. The consortium is administered by the MIT Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, CSAIL, located in Stata Center, in the USA, the European Research Consortium for Informatics and Mathematics, ERCIM, in Sophia Antipolis, France, and Keio University, in Japan, jointly. The W3C has also world offices in 16 other regions. The W3C offices work with their regional web communities to promote W3C technologies in local languages, broaden W3C's geographical base, and encourage international participation in W3C activities. W3C has a relatively small staff team, around 50 to 60 worldwide recently, as of 2010. The CEO of W3C as of Dec. 2010 is Jeffrey Jaffe, former store of Noel. The majority of standardization work is done by external experts in W3C's various working groups. 1.10 W3C membership. The domain w3.org attracted at least 11 million visitors annually by 2008 according to a Compete.com study. The consortium is governed by its membership, which in August 2009, comprised 322 organizations. The list of members is available to the public. Members include businesses, non-profit organizations, universities, governmental entities, and individuals. Except for one requirement, the membership requirements are transparent. An application for membership must be reviewed and approved by W3C, but there is no final guideline about the process or standards by which membership might be finally approved or denied. The cost of membership depends on the character of the organization, applying and the country in which it is located. Countries are categorized by the World Bank's most recent grouping by GNI, gross national income, per capita. 1.11 Criticism. Domination by large organizations. The W3C has been criticized as being dominated by larger organizations. For example, a member of the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines Working Group, WCAGWG, complained that the process is stacked in favor of multinationals with expense accounts who can afford to talk on the phone for 2 hours a week and jet to world capitals for meetings. A similar criticism, responding to large software company complaints about the slow pace of W3C's formulation of XML web services standards, appeared in cnetsnews.com in 2002. Ed Dumbill, an editor of XML.com, said that, "I'm not convinced that developers are too bothered. I think developers are being poorly served by the fact that the big companies have dominated the work of the W3C over the last year. The W3C does more or less what its members tell it to. So I don't have a huge amount of sympathy for the complaints of large companies." Deployment of HTML. In 2009, Vlad Alexander claimed that the HTML specification has been a failure, because only a small percentage of the intended users of the HTML specification use it correctly. He also claims that W3C was not engaged with website creators who represented the majority of the intended users of the HTML spec and did not provide them with the necessary support to use the HTML spec correctly. You are listening to this audiobook on Audio Learn IGNOU 1.12 W3C and other technologies. Open standard and open source software. In general terms, open source refers to software, and open standards refer to documents that may then be implemented by software. There is no single definition global for either term. Some elements of openness that apply to W3C standards include: all standards are available publicly at no cost. W3C adopted a patent policy in 2004 with the stated goal of assuring that recommendations produced under this policy can be implemented on a royalty-free, RF, basis. All technical comments are handled on their merits, whether they are made by W3C members or public. W3C's process is vendor neutral. W3C's persistence policy seeks to ensure that standards will be available at the same URI, unchanged, indefinitely. 1.13 More about W3C. W3C members. The web's importance both in scope and investment is so more that no single organization should have control over its future, and the W3C functions as a member organization. Some well-known members are IBM, Microsoft, America Online, Apple, Adobe, Macromedia, Sun Microsystems. W3C recommendations. One of the most important works done by the W3C is the development of web specifications called recommendations that describe communication protocols like HTML and XML and other building blocks of the web. Each W3C recommendation is developed by a group of working members and experts. The group gets its input from companies and other organizations and creates a working draft and finally a proposed recommendation. In general, the recommendation is submitted to the W3C membership and director for a formal approval as a W3C recommendation. Standardizing the web. Despite differences in culture, education, ability, resources, and physical limitations, W3C is working to make the web accessible to all users. W3C also coordinates its work with many other standards organizations such as the Internet Engineering Task Force, the Wireless Application Protocols WAP Forum, and the Unicode Consortium. W3C is hosted by 3 universities: Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the US, the French National Research Institute in Europe, Keio University in Japan. W3C submissions. Any W3C member can submit a suggestion for a web standard to the consortium. Most W3C recommendations started as a submission to the consortium. If a submission is within the W3C work area or charter, the W3C will decide if they should start working to refine the suggestion. W3C notes. A submission to the W3C becomes a note as a description of suggestion, refined as a public document. A note is made available by the W3C for discussion only. Publication of a note indicates no endorsement by W3C. The content of a note is edited by the member that submitted the note and not by the W3C. A note may be updated, replaced, or rendered obsolete at any time. The publication of a note does not indicate that the W3C has started any work related to the note. W3C Working Groups. A working group consisting of members and other interested parties is formed when a submission is acknowledged by the W3C. The working group will normally define a time schedule and issue a working draft of the proposed standard, describing the work in progress. W3C Working Drafts. Public comments are also invited along W3C working drafts on the W3C web site. A working draft indicates work in progress, but should not be used as reference material. The content may be updated, replaced, or rendered obsolete at any time. W3C Candidate Recommendations. Some specifications are more complex and require more input, more time, and more testing from members and software vendors. These specifications are published as candidate recommendations. A candidate recommendation is also a work in progress. 7 should not be used as reference material. The document may be updated, obsolete, and replaced at any time. W3C Proposed Recommendations. The final stage of the work in the working group is represented by a proposed recommendation, and it is still a work in progress and may still be updated, obsolete, and replaced. But even if it does not imply any official endorsement by the W3C, most often a proposed recommendation is close to the final recommendation both in content and in time. W3C Recommendations. The W3C members have reviewed W3C recommendations and have the W3C's director's stamp of approval. A W3C recommendation is considered a stable document and may be used as reference material. The next chapters of this section of W3 Schools summarize the HTML, CSS, XML, XSL activities at the W3C, including document status and timeline for each web standard. 1.14 Summary. This unit covers the topics providing knowledge about the W3C. After reading this unit, the learner will come to know about the significance and importance to W3C. This unit also covers the recommendations and administration of W3C. The other related technologies are also covered. Thank you. Subscribe our channel for more updates. We will see you with the next chapter.